Mercedes, the mighty and unbeatable team between 2014 and 2020, have been nowhere near that form in the past couple of years. Many are wondering why, and unfortunately for Mercedes fans, even the Mercedes squad itself is still wondering where it went wrong. But, luckily for them, ex-employee Paddy Lowe has laid bare where Mercedes went wrong. Former Mercedes executive director Paddy Lowe stated that the team has a very difficult journey back to the head of the field, having made wrong turns during the ground effect period. Lowe was at the head of Mercedes' technical team when they switched to turbo hybrid power, which sparked their dominant streak in 2014, and their subsequent fall from grace has left him with a lot of sympathy for his old team. Mercedes dominated the competition during the previous regulations period, winning both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships every year between 2014 and 2020. However, the 2022 rule revamp put the team on the back foot, and it has yet to recover enough to offer a regular threat for race wins. A modification to the car idea for 2024 appears to have similarly failed to assist Mercedes improve its form, with George Russell stating after the Miami Grand Prix that the team needed to accept that it was now fourth fastest. And with Mercedes now unable to compete for victories, or even podiums, George Russell feels that the situation will not alter in the foreseeable future, despite the introduction of upgrades. Also, with McLaren improving by leaps and bounds following a series of modifications that began at last year's Austrian Grand Prix, Russell believes the Woking-based team has found its development path, but it also shows what's possible. McLaren qualified P17 and P18 12 months ago in Miami, and today, they won, he said. So it shows what's possible when you get things right. But right now, we don't have things right, and we need to make changes quick. Mercedes revealed numerous new elements during the Miami Grand Prix, including a reworked floor and changes to the front wing and suspension, but more extensive updates are planned this summer. However, despite the W15's upcoming enhancements, Russell believes they will not propel Mercedes into the ranks of racing contenders. What do you think? Will they be able to catch up? Russell said the following: "We do have a few things coming in the short term, but nothing that is going to transform us into race winners right now," he stated. "I think we have to accept that we are the fourth fastest team at the moment. The lap times and the championship don't lie. This is where we are, and I think we're fighting for the P5, P8 region week in, week out now." Well, Russell, you're in luck. Because as I said earlier, there is a certain ex-employee that has laid Mercedes' problems bare. Lowe, who worked for Mercedes from 2013 to 2017, feels the team made some incorrect aerodynamic decisions when reading the current regulations. The former McLaren and Williams technical director predicted that Mercedes would have significant challenges in overcoming such shortcomings. In an interview, Lowe stated, "I have a lot of sympathy, and in fairness, if you talk to teams that are doing well, if they aren't too arrogant, they will say, 'You should count on having good fortune in this sport when you have a good car, and don't assume it is always from your own brilliance.'" That is a message that most of us have learned over the years. Mercedes have made some wrong turns aerodynamically. The tools that we use are incredibly sophisticated, wind tunnels and CFD and so on, but nevertheless highly flawed, and all teams will admit this. Therefore, there is always risk you go down an avenue that doesn't work in real life and then you have to recover. And you can see that has been the case with Mercedes. That is very difficult to recover simply over a matter of time. Your team has huge numbers of people, and all of your machinery for testing and evaluating ideas should be churning out lap time on a daily basis. And if your competitors are doing that, and you have, say, lost 3, 4, 6 months for whatever reason, even if you get back on track, it is very difficult to produce lap time at a higher rate than they are. So you remain with this offset for a long time as you try and claw it back. "When I look at Mercedes, this is the situation they are in," said Lowe. When asked if he was certain Mercedes would recover, Lowe replied, "You may or may not get there. It may get worse. This is the nature of the sport and why it is so fascinating to watch as champions come and go. Empires rise and fall, and I always thought Formula One was a bit like that, a bit like the Romans and the Greeks. There are lots of components to that, and complacency can be one of them, and we saw that with the Romans. We were very happy in 1992 at Williams to beat McLaren, who had seen unbeatable for some years, and you come out and you beat them, and you can't believe it to start with, but something has changed and lots of things can contribute to it. Lowe believes that the next big regulations update in 2026 may provide Mercedes with the opportunity to reclaim its previous grandeur. The 2026 regulations will be a disturbance that Mercedes are looking forward to see if they can disturb the status quo, Lowe stated. But unfortunately, today's formula is very much about optimization at a micro level on top of some basic structures that you chose or copy or evolve to, and then it is about optimization. And it is very difficult to make step changes within that space. And Mercedes has exactly shown us all that it is indeed hard to find gains in this era when you're behind without enough knowledge. So even though Mercedes has delivered a number of enhancements this season, their efficacy is limited by the W15's characteristics. This could be seen at the last race. The Miami Grand Prix was a pretty ordinary event for Mercedes, similar with the majority of their 2024 season. Lewis Hamilton will be pretty pleased with his effort, putting Red Bull's Sergio Perez under pressure for the whole of the last stint. However, given the enhancements made to the W15 in Florida, the team's performance was disappointing. Watching a client team McLaren win will simply add salt to the wound. Brackley's mid-season progress has failed to meet expectations in recent years. In 2022 and early 2023, adhering to the erroneous zero-pod mindset was blamed for their problems. However, such reasons will no longer be valid in 2024. This season marks the debut of an altogether new aerodynamic platform. In theory, this new mindset was meant to provide the missing connection between James Allison and his technical staff. Unfortunately for the German constructor, this was not the case. Not only do their enhancements fail to produce substantial performance, but their baseline is unstable. The well-known anecdote of experimenting with setup reappeared in 2024. Andrew Chauvelin, the team's head of trackside engineering, highlighted why Mercedes' improvement has been incremental. "We're working very hard on future races to try and bring developments to them as well," he said. "Did it work as expected? Yes, it looks like it's delivering the performance that we were hoping from the floor. The issue at the moment is everyone else is developing their cars. You saw McLaren with a big package, and they look to have moved forward. Also, the handling issues the drivers are having to battle with are making it hard to see all that performance as a straight step forward. The car can behave quite differently from session to session." These remarks address subjects that Mercedes fans will be quite familiar with. In recent years, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton have often complained about an uneven platform. While competitors make great progress, the Brackley-based team is struggling to catch up. With Ferrari and McLaren being true frontrunners, Mercedes has been pushed even lower down the order. And when asked for a particular schedule for when the W15 enhancements will be introduced, team manager Toto Wolff stated that they are still a few races away and declined to provide a solid date. "I think we know what we do, and in terms of what you're bringing to the car, you can't really rush it," he said, "because you've got to get to the point where you can say now it's good to be released into production. And once that part comes, or once it's coming, they need to be sorted, so this is a matter of many weeks." In his post-race piece for Sky F1, pundit Martin Brundle stated that the changes might make or break Mercedes' season, describing the W15's speed as confusing. The Mercedes had good speed in the closing stages, but once again both Lewis Hamilton and George Russell had a weekend of confusing and highly variable pace, he said. Mercedes have some upgrades coming which will define the rest of their season and maybe even 2025, and demonstrate whether or not they can define and fix what is wrong with the car. Here's hoping they do, because the upgraded McLaren looks to be closer to Red Bull, and Ferrari is eagerly looking forward to their imminent upgrades too. What do you think? Will Mercedes finally figure out what went wrong in recent years? And even if they do, will they be able to recover their deficit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.